Alright, what's up? We have a new chapter of Afterschool Dice Club, a really charming little board game manga that I've been reading for a while now. Um, I'm actually playing board games later today. I'm going over to a friend's place and we're going to play some board games, so this feels very appropriate. I don't know if we're going to play any of the games featured in this series. I don't know, but we're going to play similar games, games with a similar attitude. And that attitude seems like we're going to get a little explanation of this new wave of board games, of the modern era of board games. Um, Certain game was released by the Toys division of Cosmos, one of Europe's largest publishing companies. Most German games released them to that point had simple rules so they could play with the whole family. Contrast, this game had a large number of rules. Deciding it made it unsuitable for kids, major distributors initially refused to sell it. Is this about Settlers? This might be Settlers, maybe. I don't know. I really don't know that much about board games. I know Settlers was like a very landmark game though, and that it created quite a cult revolution when it was released. The university near here, UW, I remember there was even like a. I don't think it was ever like banned, but there was like an epidemic of Settlers. Like people were playing probably too much Settlers. um, when I asked my older cousin about it, who was going to the school at the time when Settlers became popular, he was like, "Oh yeah, that's true. People play a lot of Settlers." But I get the sense that the people who stay up all night playing Settlers would have stayed up all night playing something else if Settlers wasn't available. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's a pretty true way to thinking about it. Anyways, so game popularity, sales grew explosively after it won Germany's single most prestigious game award, the Spiel der Jahres, a yearly grand prize for board game. It's not pronounced like that. Fun fact, I have no idea how it's pronounced. Quickly spread to surrounding European countries, America, China, Korea, and to Japan. The game became a sensation wherever it was released. I think this must be Settlers. I cannot think of another game that... Because Dominion I don't think is German. Carcassonne I don't think is as popular as Settlers. What else could it be? I think it must be Settlers. Ha ha ha, yes. A brightly shining star in the firmament of German board games. This game is called Settlers. Die Settler von Catan. Oh, how nice. Imagine being Klaus Teuber and seeing a manga drawing your box, so belovedly drawing your box, and calling it a brightly shining star in the firmament of German board games, which is such a beautiful way of thinking of things, in a way that I actually think of things quite often. I don't know. For some reason, I really like the idea of things that I truly love going into the stars and shining like a constellation or a planet or whatever. That level of honor, that level of gravity. Look forward to that because I'll be using that in something. Anyways, Settlers. They're gonna play Settlers. I actually love Settlers. Like, it's just the right level of complexity that I can kind of invest myself in it without really feeling overwhelmed. I think you can very quickly kind of come up with like an intuitive strategy. I also really like that it's a game where your sort of personality can come through, and that even if you don't win or even if you're not very good at it at all, you can still kind of feel like you're playing as yourself, like that you're playing in a way that is uniquely you, just sort of based on even like an aesthetic level on the choices you're making. I think it's very well balanced. Although I'll be fair, most of the time when I play it, when I was playing it with my cousins, we played like much less cutthroat rules. We got rid of the rules about settlement proximity between different players, so that you can build your settlements right next to your opponent's settlements if you wish. And we also allowed 2 or more roads on the same space, so you can't block off their roads by building roads. I don't know. I think it makes the game worse competitively, but it makes it a lot more kind of relaxing and fun. Yeah, we also Oh man, I'm just gonna wax nostalgic for Settlers for so long now. For some reason, for a long time, literally just because my oldest cousin, when he was explaining how to play, referred to ore as precious, precious ore. He's like, and this one is precious, precious ore, which is probably a meme from him and his friends. But we like took it so literally that we were always just like, get on my damn ore. I'm going for that ore spot. Get me on that ore 8 or whatever. And it's like, ore's not, it's good late game, but it's not that good. Like, it's not actually stronger than the other resources. We need that precious, precious ore. Oh man. Oh, and there was one time where we had been playing Settlers like a ton, and we were really into it. And then we didn't have it one weekend. Like my oldest cousin wasn't there, so we didn't actually have a copy of it. So we just like tried to recreate it using various other games, and we actually came up with a game that I found quite interesting, where we used Blockus. Here, I'll show you what Blockus looks like because it'll be hard to explain otherwise. Sorry, this is a huge tangent, but I don't care. This is what this channel is like. You know that by now. So Blockus is a cool game. You're putting down these polyminos, and you always have to touch corner to corner, and you can't touch side to side with your own pieces. And you're building out from this corner and trying to place all of your pieces while also trying to block off your opponent's pieces and stuff. This is like a very late game one. I think it's such a cool game, and that there's actually quite a bit of depth to it. So what we did was like we somehow had some system of putting out the Blockus pieces, and then we had like player tokens that could move around the Blockus board, and depending on the color that you got a different resource. And then we also had the risk game set up. No. We also had risk set up. What? This is just like Europe risk. Here we go. This is what I'm used to. And it's like the resources you got allowed you to build your army up in risk. So it wasn't really that much like Settlers at all. It was just kind of combining various elements that we liked in Settlers, like the resource gathering and the building, and kind of the trying to find opportune spaces and stuff, and just started mashing them all together. It was fun. I think it was a lot of fun. And then we talked about a theoretical board game where we never actually played this because it would have been way too insane. Where you're playing Risk, but then when you move to take a country, you play a game of Settlers to determine who gets that country, and like the army that you're moving in is like proportional to, I don't know, something. And then so you start playing the game of Settlers, but then whenever you build a city in Settlers, you have to play a game of Monopoly, and only if you win the game of Monopoly do you get to build that city. Oh, I just loved it. I just loved the idea of it. I think there might have been yet another layer, but I don't remember what it was. Anyways, I love Settlers. I don't consider myself a huge board game fan in general. Like, I'm not like an expert or anything, but I've had some very good times playing board games, and Settlers is one of the ones nearest the top in terms of just the sheer number of good memories I have with it. No, I gotta stop, because if I get going with Settlers, it's anyways. People tend to use the terms like pre-Catan and post-Catan. It's such a huge influence on the games that are created after it. Based on that alone, you can definitely say that this game is special. Far more rules in the games we played so far, so be sure to listen closely, okay? I suppose so, yeah. Most of the games they've played before are much, much simpler than Settlers. But Settlers I actually consider quite simple too. I've definitely played much more intense games since Settlers. That's for dang sure. Okay. The name of a recently discovered uninhabited island. We are settlers of Catan. Goal is to build, expand our towns all over the island. New frame using the C panels. The train tiles inside the frame. Number of tokens on the tiles and the island is done. So the way that me and my friends always did it is to randomize the location of the geometry, or the geography that is. So like placing the resources randomly, but then putting the number tokens in a pattern. And I think that's pretty common, right? Because otherwise, there's huge imbalance. Like if the 8 and the 6 end up right next to each other, then the spot on the 8 and the 6 connection is like so much better than anything else on the entire island. That it kind of it unbalances the game quite a bit. So I recommend this way of playing. Randomize the terrain, don't randomize the number tiles. Nice, nice. And it looks like that's what they've done. The 8 and the 6 aren't touching. I don't know. I can't quite tell. Because I don't really remember as well. But whatever. Sure brings me back. Oh, this Throner waxing nostalgic about Catan too. Maybe I'll see if we can play Catan today. Maybe I'll be like, you guys want to play some Catan? But I don't know. Most people that play board games are like so sick of Catan. Like they've already had their Catan phase. But maybe we can bring it back. What the fuck? Okay, that was 15 years ago. What is this flashback? The U.S. soldiers in the Okinawa American Army base chatting about Catan. This is the store clerk, I guess. He's in with the American Army, I guess. He was there too. This is crazy to me that we're getting like a Catan flashback arc. Look at this. Catan's boring with two people, so I invited someone. Can a simple-minded gorilla like him even play games? Oof! This nasty forehead named George. I actually have a friend named George that I play board games with sometimes. And he is very mean sometimes when he plays board games. There was a time we were playing, it's like a Battlestar Galactica game or a Babylon 5 game. I can't remember which one is which. The one with the Cylons, the ones with the people who are like undercover aliens, okay? So the point of the game is largely based around the fact that some of you are undercover Cylons and thus saboteurs. You're trying to sabotage what the other people are doing, okay? So I hate games like this. I hate them. I enjoy them if I'm not forced to lie, because I'm terrible at lying and I don't like lying at all. It just makes me uncomfortable. If I start to feel like I'm getting good at it, I feel really uncomfortable. And if I'm bad at it, I also feel really uncomfortable. I quite enjoy them when I'm one of the good guys. Like, I will still play Werewolf and Mafia and stuff like that. I just pray every time, like, villager, villager, villager. Anyways, so we played this sci-fi game, the Cylon sci-fi game. And I, of course, was one of the Cylons. And on the very first turn, my friend George was like, well, Steven's obviously a Cylon. And I reacted like so poorly that it was obvious to everyone that I effed up. And then the whole game was just kind of like a wash. Because, yeah, no, it was so bad. It was so bad. Anyways, that was very mean of him to attack me like that. The moment I first saw him, I knew he was a vile person, belligerent and inflexible. He's the type of guy that I hate most. George. George. I played some Catan with George. I don't really remember any of the games specifically, but got into a fight. Dang. It's almost the 20th century and you're still playing that old-fashioned crap. Jeez. Gonna have a fight about board games. Catan is another antiquated old toy. Nobody playing board games in Japan. Haven't you ever heard of Nintendo? Dang, look at them call each other out. People who grow in a small island nation also have a small field of vision. I don't think that's true. Alright, alright. Just play some Catan. They're going crazy. Beaming the game you made fun of, I will apologize and do whatever else you want. If I win, you won't ever oppose me ever again. Alright. See what happens. Oh, and then we cut right back. Wow, they have a very fancy version of Catan. I don't know if I like it. It's like, yeah, those are nice models, I guess. But the most fun part of Catan is during your opponent's turns, you try to build stuff out of all your pieces. I try to build little robots and towers and stuff. Don't you? Don't you guys? I do that all the time. I hope people don't find that annoying. I love doing that. Place a road connected to a settlement. Settlement a road. Okay, alright. Ikimasu. A lot of rules earlier. The basic flow of the game is simple. Roll 2 dice and add the numbers. 8. Of course it's 8. All tiles with a number equal to the resource. Number of the dice will now produce resources. Nice, nice. Ooh, we getting some sheep and precious ore? Oh, brick and grain. Never mind. Every player who owns a settlement next to a tile that produces resources gets a card of that type. Nice, nice, nice. Alright, yeah, this is how Settlers works. These are some really nice drawings of the board, I think. Such loving attention to detail. Maybe modeled off photography, photos, I don't know. But very nice. Build a road with brick and a wood. 1 point for every settlement you build and 2 for every city. Nice, nice, nice. First player to get to 10 points wins the game. It's my favorite game. Wow. Trading. It's time to trade. Man, they thought this game was pretty bleak. Well, it's like, oh, well, no more sheep. Can't build a settlement. Can't build a settlement on sheep tiles. Therefore, can't get sheep. GG Nori. They must have thought this game sucks. But no, this game is in fact awesome. Because of trading. Trading is so interesting to me. I think trading, much more than lying-based games, are games where you can have your full range of personality, but you're not forced into any one hole, such that I can play as generously as I want. I like to play generously in Catan. I like to trade whenever possible. I like to allow other people to flourish. I prefer that to like a cutthroat game. I prefer that to one where you're very strategically cutting people off of resources and stuff. Because no, I don't know, no real reason. I also don't really care if I win or lose in Catan. I genuinely just enjoy playing it. I don't think my win rate is like that god awful, but it's like I definitely don't really push for the win as much as I just push for having a fun time and doing things that interest me, and like I like getting longest road and stuff like that, and just having a nice cool looking expansion throughout the map, things like that. I am very curious about hyper competitive settlers though, where I think trade denial is like super key. Because like if you wanted to think about this situation here where neither of them can ever get sheep. Now, Miki-chan is probably also positioned such that she can't get sheep, but I think you can probably, if you like take advantage of ports, like the 3-to-1 port or the 4-to-1 rule. Well, I suppose our other two girls can do the 4-to-1 rule too. Anyways, but it's still like there's still a lot of opportunities to really cut people off resources, right? To try to monopolize resources, cut people off of resources, to cut people off also physically with roads and stuff, of course, is very key. So I think it still remains a very interesting game at a super cutthroat level. And there's one joke in Parks and Rec, which is a sitcom I really like. And this joke might be my favorite joke in all of Parks and Rec. It's the one where they're doing Ben's bachelor party and they're playing Settlers. And Ben wins, and he goes, "You guys shouldn't worry about it. I'm nationally ranked at this game." And it's just this like throwaway line. It's not really even like a complete joke in and of itself that he says I'm nationally ranked at this game. If that was to be funny on its own, that would be like Big Bang tier level of comedy. That like, oh, it's inherently funny that someone could be nationally ranked at a board game. But it's not that. It's like the way he says it. This sort of like apologetic humility. The feeling that he's like a little embarrassed that he made them all play this game where he just beat everybody. The sense that it would make total sense in his character that he actually is nationally ranked at settlers, like it all just converges into this wonderful moment. And since then though, I've wondered like who are the people that are nationally ranked at settlers? Like does that actually exist to a meaningful extent? Is there a best settlers player in America? How can I meet that person? What are they like? Etc. Etc. anyways, okay, sorry. These are lots of tangents in this chapter. I hope you don't mind. They're talking about trading. They're gonna work out a trade here. Can't rely on the dice rolls. They're the resources you want. You often trade with other players. No exaggeration to say the players who are good at trading take control of Catan. So this is going to be what they encounter, I'm sure, in this flashback, where probably neither of them will ever trade with each other because they're such at odds. And then Mike, the neutral third party who gets along with both of them, probably gonna sneak out an easy win just because he's willing to trade. Give you one break. How about two? What you ask him? Oh, see? He's giving Mike good trades because he refuses to trade with the George. Interesting. I love that our two parallel games here are between these muscle-bound army men, two of whom hate each other, and three high school girls who are all good friends. Ooh, 7. It's time for the robber. Hell won't produce any resources for as long as the robber's on it. This is, of course, the unavoidable BM in the game. I like to move the robber to an unoccupied square. That's the type of person I am. Move it to the 12. Out by the edge of the board. Nobody cares. You know, someday they'll look back and they'll say, St. Stephen, in this hagiography of my life, will be like, there were signs early that he was a man of infinite compassion, that his heart had no depth. I mean, was no bottom. It had depth. Say, do you remember when he would move the robber to the unoccupied square so that he wouldn't deny anyone resources? They go, yes. Even then I knew he was a blessed human. So George shuts down his forest and then takes one of his resources, as is tradition. And Takaru freaks out. Too hard for a simple-minded gorilla. Development card. You just need precious ore. Called the knight. You can move the robber. And look, George, not only making deals, not only proposing deals, but doing the work of telling you why they're good deals. Now this is like very interesting to me. And it recalls a traumatic time in my youth where I was playing in my high school's like gifted class or whatever. We were playing diplomacy, which is like, of course, that's what you do when you get a bunch of the nerdiest kids in the school together. And it turned into like a Fukumoto-esque, insanely deep layering of logic and reasoning, which, to be fair, is very cool and, well, maybe cool isn't the word I would use, but very interesting to me. But I was getting completely wrecked. I was in grade 9. A lot of our players were in grade 12, so much older than me and much smarter than me. And a lot of it was this logic of like, well, you should do this because of this reason, and this reason. Like, not just saying you should do this, but like fully trying to break it down for the other person why certain alliances or moves are in their best interest. But it's like inherently by doing that, you've shown that you've accounted for that advantage that they're getting, and yet you're still suggesting it to them, which makes them think that you must have something more in the bank than that, right? So it's like you're constantly just moving up the level of the game that has in some sense already happened, and saying, look, I've seen this far into the future, you'll get all of these benefits, but then clearly by my saying this, I will be even more benefited. And it's okay to say something like this. In a 1v1 game, saying something like that would just count for nothing. Like, you should never even listen to your opponent when they're talking like that. But in a multiplayer game, I think there was 8 of us. There's actually something to the idea. Maybe there wasn't 8 of us. I think there was teams. I think there was 8 people, but there was teams. Anyways, there's something to the idea that like, okay, we both move up. You clearly have some secret plan that puts you even further ahead than me, but I can at least pass these other people and better position myself for further down the line. So you do this, and then other people, though, of course, are saying different paths that will make the equivalent movement, but with them, with this secret thing on top. And it becomes very, very complicated. But I think pretty cool. Again, cool here being used in a way that I'm sure you understand is not at all synonymous with skateboarding or sunglasses. So I don't know. This is probably belaboring the point too much, but I just like this sort of thinking where George tells him, if you use these to build a road, you can build another settlement, right? Like, yeah. He's all about win-win. Let's start by considering what your opponent needs. Japanese don't know how to trade. Whoa! Oh, the closed country policy! He's doing it! Admiral Perry has to come in. One of you wins, they get to go to the other round, right? So I come on top. Both have to do something I say. Fool! They have to take his latrine duty. Ah, so he's learned another point to consider. But it's not necessarily best to position yourself to get all of the resources naturally. It's more advantageous when you account for trading to just have a resource that's in high demand, right? To have like a monopoly on something that people need. Probably building early, yeah, brick and wood good in the early game. Later you need grain, ore, and sheep. Grain and ore, precious ore. Of course. Phew. It's not really fair that Takeru is trying to learn all of this right now, whereas these guys clearly have been just grinding Catan all night, every night. What do I do? Oh, we get the longest road and biggest army, right. I love longest road. Longest road is just so charming to me. I can't help but imagine the perspective of the people who live in my kingdom and my settlements and seeing the toll-free roads extending from glorious city to glorious city to glorious city all across the map. I love having all of my cities connected in one road. Typically, there's at least one player in any game of Catan who's just gunning for longest road and is thinking the way I think, which can lead to some contention if you're playing the rules, like the real rules where roads can't overlap. So watch out for that, because often there's more than one too. Got this in the bag. Mike now has 8 points. The development card is also a point. He's only 1 point away from winning. Mike will win unless we do something. You're gonna have to lug around the toilet stuff. Clearly neither of them want that. Okay, it's getting interesting. For you, let's trade. I don't care what I get in return. At the same time, your hand is filling full of grain and sheep, isn't it? Or to draw a knight, you can take the largest omni bonus from Mike. Ha. Okay, so he's setting him up to get 2 development cards to try to make 2 more knights and take 2 points from Mike, keeping Mike from winning the game in the next turn. Be hauling crap all week. No? Alright, so I think George respects this. George is pretty impressed that he would, Takeru would think this far ahead. One of my cards, there's no guarantee I draw 2 knights. If you draw them, I wouldn't be able to play them until my next turn. Right. You can only play 1 card per turn. Right. Whoa! You'll secure the longest road bonus. 3 more turns to take the largest bonus. So What's your reward for coming up with a plan? Whoa! Whoa! This is exciting! This is exciting. I would actually love to see now an entire series, hopefully by Fukumoto, about competitive settlers. That would be so cool. Alright, alright. So what's going to happen? I thought Mike would get the win, and that they would learn their lesson about teamwork and trading and stuff from that. But instead, they've realized in time that they're doomed if this continues. And what will happen next? I love this montage of playing, trading, building. I liked here too that in the flashback they're using the very classic version of the game. It's in German too, whereas the girls are playing the Japanese translation, and they just have the very simplistic blocks and stuff, like the ones that I like to build stuff out of. It's great. It's very nostalgic. Training development card. Wow, Mike wins anyways. He's early on the game. Couldn't quite catch up to him later on. Oh no! They were getting along! They were getting along! Say one more thing. No, he's come to love Settlers. So they'll still bond over it. Even though they still have their differences. It's a super cool and exciting game. See, it's the super old version that doesn't even have the connected outside ocean. But the ocean cards are also just tiles. I remember this. I remember this. That's the version I played on at first too. Hieroglyphs of queens playing board games in ancient Egyptian tombs. Humans have been playing board games for more than 5,000 years. Isn't that amazing? I was reading about early Egyptian board games not too long ago. They're pretty interesting. I'll spare you yet another long tangent where we start reading a bunch of Wikipedia articles, but check it out. It's pretty neat. Yeah, some of these games, very, very old games. People around the world have been playing games since time immemorial. Yeah. Board games are driven to the brink of extinction after the rise of video games in the mid-'80s. Moldy old toys. Those words aren't entirely inaccurate, but I don't think board games will die off just like that. After all, just think these ancient memories are part of our DNA. That's pretty interesting. I often wonder how inherent is gambling, gaming, things of skill and chance bred into our DNA. I almost think that the reason that makes them so compelling and so interesting is that they're not. That things like dice were a very recent invention, relatively speaking, to the entire human history. The very idea of purely random chance is something that we are terrible at. Like, we cannot just get our psychology to resolve that. So I think it's almost the opposite, that it's something so novel that the way our brain functions hasn't caught up with it yet. And such, we kind of treat it mystically in a way. And it's very, very hard to break out of that mystical thinking when it comes to things that involve luck. I don't know. It's something that really, really interests me. I often think about all of our fallacies, our gambler's fallacy, our confirmation biases and stuff, how none of them would really do you wrong in the world of ancient man, in the world of caveman and stuff. Lots of things like the gambler's fallacy of like treating random events as interconnected instead of each individual dice roll, of course, having no relationship with any of the dice rolls before it. That leads to thinking of things like, oh, I'm due for an 8 or whatever. Oh, it's been a while since 10 came up. I'm due for 10. Of course, it has no basis in reality. But if you think of any natural occurrence that is kind of hard to estimate the timing of, something like rain or, I don't know, the migration of a certain bird or something, maybe early man didn't have the scientific knowledge to actually look for the patterns there. But a sense of, oh, I'm due for this. Oh, we're due for some rain. Something like that actually doesn't steer you that wrong, you know? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Anyways, sorry, I ended up going on a big tangent anyways. Memories of playing board games that made us laugh, or get angry, or sometimes even cry. Memories of fun. What a nice chapter. Ow! Oh, I banged my knee. What a nice chapter. I love how long it is, too. We're going all out for the Catan Super Special. I really do hope I play Catan this afternoon now. I'm feeling so nostalgic for it. I don't even know if my friends have it, actually. Road building. 2 roads. Longest road bonus worth 2 points. I mean, 2 victory points I had in my hand makes 10 points exactly. It's over. This is my first time playing Catan. I'm nationally ranked at this game. I might want to buy it. Yeah, that was pretty good. That was some smooth transition. You might laugh and tell me I'm exaggerating, but I look at these kids, I can feel the truth. Unfold the board, pick up the token, hold it in front of your eyes. Etched into our genes, our memories of fun. It's nice. This is a really nice chapter. This is a board game legend. De Settler von Catan. Still have fun if you're not very good because there's always something to do, but proper planning will always pay off. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, you never feel like you're out of the game. You never feel like it's not worth trying to achieve your personal goals, even if they don't happen to be enough to win the game. Yeah. Catan, a truly monumental work. Ton of expansions to the base game. I haven't played any of the expansions. For the amount that I've played the normal Catan, it's actually kind of funny that I haven't played any expansions. 5 different editions in Japan alone. Nice. Okay. That was a great chapter. We're caught up on the series now. That's exciting. Let's look forward to more. It looks like in the picture here that there's 12 volumes of this, which is mind-boggling. We're on volume 2, so much more fun to come. All right, bye-bye.